What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beebs Gaming. Today we're going to be doing episode 2 of Talkin Football. I want to just talk about a couple of things before the college football season officially gets underway tomorrow, and then we're 1 week away from the NFL season beginning. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about football before the games start, and I can cover some stories before the game starts. I'll also have to talk about games after this week. First, I wanted to talk about the Michigan depth chart and quarterback situation. So I know I'm probably late to the party, but as you guys may have seen or read, Jim Harbaugh has announced that both quarterbacks will play in the first 2 games. The first game of the season against Colorado State will be Cade McNamara, and in week 2 against Hawaii, we'll see J.J. McCarthy. And then the winner of those 2 games will emerge as the starting quarterback moving forward. I honestly believe that the winner of this quarterback battle will be the better quarterback. Unlike what I kind of see in Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh will get to them, but I believe that whoever wins the quarterback battle at Michigan is going to be the better of the 2 quarterbacks. Also, I wanted to kind of look at their depth chart as Jim Harbaugh released their depth chart. And there's a couple interesting things about the depth chart. I didn't really realize, but we are kind of loaded at receiver going into this season. We have plenty of guys who can play the position. And because of that, Mike Sainristil has been moved over to the defensive side of the ball, where he was recruited as a defender, but now he'll be playing as the nickelback in the Michigan defense. Also, we have 2 tight ends who can both perform very well. And then at running back, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards will more than likely split snaps at that position. It should be interesting. I think that Michigan has potential to have a really good team. You're going to see that David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson are being replaced, and according to the depth chart, are going to be replaced by Jalen Harrell and Taylor Upshaw. I believe that Taylor Upshaw could be a pretty good player, and we kind of saw a little bit of him last year. But on the defensive line, there's definitely some very good players. You got Chris Jenkins, Mozzie Smith, and Mike Morris. I think that all of those guys on that defensive line can perform and be just as good as what Michigan produced last year. I think that the defense can, repeat what they did, and I think the offense's success will be a lot more this season than it was last season. I mean, mostly everybody's coming back except for a couple of missing pieces on the offensive line. But I think that, they've done well in the transfer portal and recruiting. I think they got good players to play that offensive line. I think Michigan is going to be really good this year. I'm excited. Colorado State week 1. I will be attending the week 3 game, so I'm excited to watch Michigan football again this year and continue to cover them, and hopefully I have nothing but good things to say about them. Moving on, I wanted to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, and more specifically their quarterback battle alone. Mike Tomlin is yet to name a starter heading into week 1. I don't believe he probably will say anything before week 1 begins. I think that we'll probably just see who the starter is that day. But I wanted to look at the stats of the 3 quarterbacks in the preseason and kind of show you how similar they all were. Trubisky was 24 of 34 passing for 283 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Kenny Pickett was 29 of 36 passing for 261 yards with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And Mason Rudolph was 26 of 39 passing for 220 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So combined, they had 764 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. I think that is very, very impressive. When you have 3 quarterbacks in that quarterback room who can go out, and I know it's the preseason, and I know that you're playing against backups in some games, but for them to go out there and nobody turn the ball over and be efficient and be effective and move the ball and go 3-0 in the preseason as the quarterbacks, I think that's very impressive. And I believe that you have 3 quarterbacks that are all capable of starting in this offense. I think it's a matter of who do you want? Who knows the system better? I think that that's what it boils down to. I think that's why Kenny Pickett probably won't start right away, but I do believe he's got easily the highest upside out of the 3 quarterbacks, and I think he is the quarterback of the future. But I just wanted to kind of talk about that quarterback battle over there in Pittsburgh because they all perform very well in the preseason, and there's not really much more that you can ask for than to go out there and give it your best, and every single one of them give their best. I think it was very impressive. And I'm excited to see what the decision is when it comes week 1, as we are going to be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to be a fun game on September 11th. But we'll talk more about Pittsburgh as the season goes along. We're about, I think, 9 days out before the first game of the season. I'm excited for it. And now we're going to move on to talk about a couple of the college football games that happened yesterday. The first game I want to talk about was the game between Pitt and West Virginia. I mean, that was easily already game of the year. I get it. We're in like the first week of college football. There's going to be definitely better games than this one, but it was a very good game, 38-31. I think it was interesting in this game to see that both of the quarterbacks for each team both started their careers at USC. Keaton Slovis started over there, and then JT Daniels, of course, last year was at Georgia, but now over at West Virginia. And both quarterbacks looked really good. Keaton Slovis went 16 of 24 passing for 308 yards and 1 touchdown. And JT Daniels went 23 of 40 passing for 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But the interception was not necessarily his fault. Wheaton had dropped that pass, and it was unfortunate because Wheaton was having such a good game before he dropped that pass, which led to the interception. I thought it was really interesting, though, because West Virginia now is in more of a pass-first offense, but they ran the ball a lot more effectively than I think anyone expected, and I think they struggled to pass the ball for yardage, at least, as far as that goes. I think it was a fun game. I think Pitt, with Keaton Slovis as their quarterback, I think they're a team that honestly could probably repeat what they did last year, and if they can beat a team like Clemson this year, I think they're going to be really good, and I think they have a chance, a small chance, maybe an outside chance to making the playoffs. I have to say this every video, but you can definitely hear my cats in the background. But anyway, it was a fun game. It was an interesting game, just like the game between Purdue and Penn State. I mean, I remember going to watch Sean Clifford when he was a senior in high school, and Sean Clifford really balled out, but he's not become the quarterback that Penn State really had hoped he would be. I think he played well in yesterday's game. He threw the interception that led to Purdue scoring, and then it maybe looked like everything was going to fall apart for Penn State, but they ended up going on a long drive, and Sean Clifford had composure. He looked poised that he was going to drive down the field, and he was going to give Penn State the win. The throw to the running back out of the backfield for the win was a very good throw. I think that Penn State's a good team, but unfortunately, I just don't believe that they can compete in the Big Ten East. I mean, I think that Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State are just ages above Penn State right now. I think Penn State has a long way to go, and I think it's going to take another Trace McSorley / Saquon Barkley for Penn State to get back to where they were and repeat. But I don't think that they can compete in the Big Ten East especially with now my Wolverines are now up there with Ohio State now, in my opinion. So they could have a good year, but if they were in a Big Ten West, it'd be a different story. I could probably see them as Big Ten West favorites. And then Purdue, last year, they had a great year last year. People tend to forget that, and they are going to mess up team season this year. I guarantee it. They have a team that can compete, and they're going to compete when they go and play teams. But I just wanted to talk about those two games as well as a little bit about Michigan and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm excited for this football season to start. I've waited all summer for it. Week 1 of college football officially starts tomorrow. No, the week after that, you got the NFL season starting. Football is pretty much in full effect. The leaves are going to start falling here soon, and it's going to be straight up fall football time. So I'm excited for it. Look forward to about, I think, every Tuesday or Wednesday, I will post a Talkin Football video, and we'll talk about what happened the week prior and what we expect for the next week. I'll have to come up for some talking points, maybe like a week MVP, and like an upset of the week. And we'll talk about both NFL and college football in those videos because unfortunately, due to my job, I don't have the time to post one for NFL and one for college. So we'll kind of combine the two and try to make it about a 10 to 12 minute long video. I don't want to go above that time frame. I don't want to bore anyone. But like I said, I'm excited for the season. I've said it multiple times, but I will catch you guys next Tuesday or next Wednesday when we will talk about what had happened in week 1 of this college football season. Then we'll have to probably go on a little bit of a break, but we will be back. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys like it, and I hope you guys appreciate the work that I'm putting in for you guys. And if you have any feedback, put it down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. See ya.